Well, welcome to It's an Inside Job BiteSize Fridays, your weekly dose of resilience, optimism, and well-being to get you ready for the weekend. Now, each week, I'll bring you insightful tips and uplifting stories to help you navigate life's challenges and embrace a more positive mindset. And so with that said, let's slip into the stream. This week on BiteSize Friday, we're diving back into Season 5, Episode 18. I've taken a powerful segment from my conversation with Dr. Dana Sinclair, a leading performance psychologist who works with elite athletes, executives, and professionals across various fields. Now, Dr. Sinclair shares essential strategies for managing overwhelming emotions in high-pressure situations, the importance of post-performance self-evaluation, and the pitfalls of perfection that many of us have become very accustomed to. The three benefits you'll gain from listening to this short bite-sized Friday, well, they are the practical tools for managing emotions. You're going to learn about a specific breathing technique that can help you quickly calm down and refocus in the heat of the moment, an invaluable skill for high-pressure situations. The second benefit, that's structured self-evaluation. Discover a clear method for post-performance evaluation that helps you identify your strengths and your areas of improvement, leading to continuous growth over time. And the third benefit, well, that's overcoming perfectionism. It's about gaining insights on how to shift your focus from the unattainable perfection to sustainable excellence and improvement, which, again, at the end of the day, this fosters a healthier approach to personal and professional growth. So now let's slip into the stream with my conversation with Dr. Dana Sinclair.
I was doing my second PhD. I needed funding. It was at Cambridge. It was very expensive. I was in for an interview. I went in thinking, okay, there'll be 2 or 3 people there. Great. Okay, I can do this. And because it was very important that I get this funding. I was under pressure for sure. I walked in. There was a big boardroom. It was downtown, London, and there was a dozen people around this table. I thought, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to tip over, fall off my chair. So I really struggled I had to use that first few minutes to really pull myself together. Now, I would do a better job of it now, one, because of experience and because I actually use my own skills. But then I had to settle, I had to breathe, I had to talk my way through this. I had to tell myself, don't worry about how this comes off, or if it's not very pretty, just get to, your words, get to what you have to say. Sell your project, that type of thing. It was awful.
and so obviously breathing is connected to our autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic, parasympathetic. Mm-hmm. What is there's a lot of different types of breath work out there. What is your default? What is the one you go to? And if you wish to share, could you maybe walk our listeners through it?
Absolutely. I love my performers to have a 5-second quick fix I call it breathe it out. It's easy to do all these other breathing exercises before and whatnot, great, but I need people to be able to calm down in the moment, like a linebacker trying to get off the line in the NFL, or a quarterback, dropping back in the pocket. He needs to pull it down quickly, or in the huddle, or any of us when we're in an interaction, then you can feel conflict coming. So 5 seconds. I want people to think about just slowing it down. So shoulders down, sit up tall, breathe in through your nose, out through your nose if you can, but if not, through a straw through your mouth, because that automatically slows you down. That's why it's, out through your mouth, through that straw, slow it down, exhale fully. So slow, nose, exhale longer than normal, and try to loosen those shoulders. Boom, done.
And so this is just one cycle of breath, or is it?
As many as you can fit in or need to do.
Okay.
But often one practiced cycle breath can get you thinking clearly.
I guess it
Because
definitely brings you into the here and now. When you're focusing on your
yes,
breath, you're at the presence, right?
yes, and you're doing something to help yourself, and you're stopping the clutter from going crazy in your head. You're pulling your mind back from all those hot spots and distractions. You're shifting over onto something helpful. Which is the breath. And then you can move on to any other skill that you find useful. And remember, this is all planned out in terms of going into your event or your performance. So it's not like, oh, I've got to breathe. You've actually taken a little bit of time to think about what to do when you feel it grabbing you. And that breath is the first thing that really helps. And you can do this kind of breathing without anybody noticing. It's not like you have to go lie down or do big, breaths, right? Right.
Imagine that.
Just take it down a notch.
Yeah.
Hold on, interviewers. Hold on, panel. Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about pre-performance. We've talked about performance. Now I'd like to shift the conversation, if you don't mind, to post-performance. I was wondering, how important is self-evaluation in post-performance? Now, the reason I asked for this, I work with a number of corporations, a number of teams, and they get a project done, but there's really no time for celebration. They just hop onto the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. They talk a good talk, saying, yeah, we should do a post-performance, and so we can improve our game. And sometimes they do it, but it's not a consistent practice. It's not a habitual part of their culture. I would like to get it straight from the professional's mouth. How important is self-evaluation or team evaluation in post-performance?
I think it could be a game changer. I think checking in on yourself after performance is critical if you want to be better. Why would you leave that to chance? Whether you're a person who always thinks you aced it and walked away and don't do anything, right? Or every time you perform, you just have to get through it and you just want to leave it, right? And don't deal with it. Mistake. You got to check in with yourself. And my version of it is simple and quick, which is my version of how to perform under pressure anyway, because who has time in the moment to go through all sorts of rigmarole? We want to keep it simple and ready to grab in the moment. But I think, I get my clients to rate themselves. Rate your performance out of 10. 1 from lousy to brilliant. Give yourself a number and don't be too hard on yourself, because most people will, mark down. And I can always tell because, they're kind of happy with the performance, but they say, well, I was a 6. Come on. You don't have to be at 8, 9, or 10, but let's be honest with yourself. Like, you're honest with yourself when you're lousy. So when you're good, be honest with yourself too. Give yourself a little bit of credit. Anyway, rate yourself. Then a quick, what did I do well? What went well? What was I good at today? Boom, boom, boom. And then conversely, what didn't go so well? I kind of blew that. Write it down. Then it's pretty clear. Okay, here's what I did well. Okay, here's what didn't go so well. I was a 7. I really want to be an 8 next time. Okay, this is what I need to adjust. And not some long journal entry. It's got to be something short and meaningful. Whether it's a task related or how you're going to prepare. I have a client right now, a top ranked athlete who, is trying to get a lot better at that, and realized after the last competition, my preparation wasn't so good. I really need to take a little bit more time and breathe a little bit more and run through my game plan and just go over my cues just a little bit, see them in my head. Then I think I'm ready. It's very useful.
Very, very. Because, what I hear is someone who, these professionals that you work with, they have this ability. For more of our common folk, when we fail, when we flop, when we don't succeed, we can be very harsh with self-critical thoughts. What suggestions would you have for someone to show a little more self-compassion. And how does that show up nuts and bolts? When someone makes a mistake, they flop and they feel foolish or they feel whatever, silly or stupid. What advice would you give them to learn from their mistakes, to learn from their follow-ups?
Good question. First of all, even though I do work with a lot of very high performers, they feel the same way as everybody else. Everybody thinks, that's another myth. Everybody thinks that they're high performers. It just comes by them naturally. They never worry about this stuff. They never think about this stuff. Not at all. They struggle with confidence. They struggle with, do I deserve this? They have all sorts of confidence crushers that get in the way too. So they're no different. They just probably get a little bit more structured training in this zone, how to do it fast. So everybody does feel it. It does really start with, let's do an actual honest evaluation of that performance. People default to, oh, it's terrible, oh, it's bad. Well, why? Self-protection, right? I need to have something. Like here's really how it works. If I want to perform well, I know if I do this and this, I'll probably be okay. I've done this before. This is my job, or I think I can do this. But when it gets to the pressure moment, people back off because I know if I just do these things, I'll be fine. But what if it doesn't work out? What if I actually do try and it doesn't work out? Oh my goodness, then I have failed. Then it's on me. I can't have that. So people subconsciously throw some barriers in front of them, excuses essentially as to something they can grab onto if it doesn't go well. Do you see what I'm?
Yeah. Escape hatch. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I like people to be really aware of that because we all do it until we start to check on ourselves. Okay. Am I wiggling away from this? Am I tinkering with this? What is really happening here? And it's, people like to think too, oh, well, I know I really need help to figure it out because I don't know what's going wrong. I like to challenge people and say, well, you know what? If you sit with yourself for 5 minutes and really think about it, what gets in my way? Why didn't I do well that last time? What am I holding back? In the privacy of your own brain, or right? Or if you're reading my book and it's asking you these questions, we can usually figure it out for ourselves, those one or two things that really bug us that we're trying to avoid and we hold back from.
Yeah, those derailers you spoke about earlier, right?
Yes. And it does take courage to try to be good and to try to be better. And being honest with yourself is the first step to being better. What are those derailers? What are those hotspots?
And, courage is just that, as we've heard, a lot of times it is facing our fears. It's not showing up without any fears. You might have fears or anxieties and such, but that courage, that's the learning curve, I guess. That's understanding, breaking down as you've articulated how I flopped, how I failed, whatever, or how
we're going to.
Yeah. Welcome to the human race.
We all fail. It's right. And see, people get caught up in, it's got to be perfect. I've got to be perfect. And that's another thing that I challenge people on, because that is such a script for self-defeat. It's not happening, people. Nobody's going to be perfect. You will not be perfect. So let's get off of that and go for something attainable. Excellence. Being really good. Good enough. Then we can get rid of this huge derailer, which is perfection. When people drift to, I have to be perfect, I can't make a mistake. Holy smokes, they are no longer on task. They're no longer relaxed. They're no longer thinking in the moment about what to do. They are in trouble. No good. And that is, yes, as I say, one of the big faults that we, I guess, fall into when we're trying to perform. Because it's that pressure. It's when you really want it. That's why we're getting the pressure. When we're relaxed and we don't care, we're fine.
We're all good.
It's when you really want it. Yeah, we're all good. So it's just having some of those strategies ready to go, pre-planned, or when it hits you.
If you want more, why not go back and listen to the original full conversation with my guest? You will find the link in the episode in the show notes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll be back next week with my long-form conversational episodes on Monday and the latest BiteSize episode on Friday. And have yourself a relaxing and rejuvenating weekend.